Greetings everyone, and welcome back to TaleSpire. My name is Aaron with Nordic Forge Games, and today we're going to walk through another really fun, awesome tutorial to help you guys get better at using this super cool tool. Super cool tool? Let's do it! Let's get into it, guys. We're just going to load up our same board that we were working on in the first video. So I had some technical issues in my first video in which the audio was totally fine, but the video was stuttering and sort of not catching up. So before I start today's video, I just kind of wanted to summarize everything we covered in the last video. So our first tip was about starting small, which as you can see we did. We built everything in the first video just on this standard 8x8 grassland tile. We used limited assets and the size in order to fill the space and create some really fun playable areas. Our second tip was about learning the shortcuts. The first shortcut we talked about was the control key. So as you can see, if you tap control, you can then clip rocks or any asset really through everything else. And so you're able to create custom shapes, custom items, and that's going to feed into our video today about creating your own custom assets and items for TaleSpire. We also learned about double right click and double left click in order to focus your camera with double right click and duplicate an item with double left click. We also learned about the alternate key or the alt key. By holding it down, we can rotate any item. We talked about how to use our favorites bar, right? How to save the items we use the most down here on these black boxes. And by holding the X key, we can actually drag items off and onto our bar directly from our library. We learned about setting our ambience early, changing our ambient sounds, our music, as well as the lighting for the board early so that we can get a better understanding of where this is and what tone we want to convey to our players. And then finally, we discussed not ending flat. And we did that by creating undulation and varying elevations throughout the board so that we create a more interesting board to look at as well as to play on. And so again, thank you guys for your patience and all your support. I hate that first video was a little bit choppy, but you know what? We're just going to keep plowing forward, keep enjoying the journey, and happy to have you guys along for the ride. And for today's video, what I really wanted to talk about was giving you guys some more inspiration and freedom to create your own style, right? Finding your own way that you like to build and being able to create your own custom assets that you can actually copy and use throughout your builds to make building quicker. And how do we do that? Well, we're just going to use the existing basic stuff from TaleSpire in order to create unique items or unique set pieces with no mods, without altering your game's code. We're going to go in and make some really fun, cool stuff just on the fly. I want to build this stuff in real time. I don't want to prepare anything, so you guys can see my process. Just a little bit of imagination, creativity, and just brute force. All right, so let's get started and have some fun. I'm just going to move over here to the right, get a nice clean area to work with. What do I mean when I say, custom assets or original assets? What I mean is you're going to create something original that only you have created, and then I'm going to show you how to store it, how to easily select it, and then how to use them in your future builds so that it can save you time. You know, when you need storage or you need a campground or you need a special wall, you'll have already created these things and stored them. That way you can recreate them easily if you're going for a certain style or aesthetic. So again, following the rules of our first video, I'm just going to start really small here. And something I like to warm up with is a campground. And right here, we just have a little 4x4 tile. Now, one of the first things I like to do is use the selection tool here. And I like to go ahead and lift my building surface up off the ground, just about a whole step. One, so that it's up off the ground for when I'm going to select it and move it later. I'm also not sure if I'm going to keep these nature tiles. I may remove them entirely later. We'll just have to see. If you're building a campground, every single time you need to go into your decor menu, select camping, select the tent you want, select the fire pit you want. But if you go ahead and create 2 or 3 of these interesting little camps and save them on a board that you can go back and access, you can just copy and paste these camps onto other boards where you need them. And we're going to use the same tips from our first video about starting small, changing the elevation, using our shortcuts in order to make these as dynamic and as fun as possible, even on such a small scale. All right, I'm going to go ahead and throw the tent down. I'm going to smash it into the ground just a little, just to make it look like it's really tight in there. Sometimes I'll place something and then press it just ever so slightly into the ground. I'm also curious, they have some different bed rolls here. This one's kind of nice. I like the fur on that. I'm wondering how easy it would be to clip one of these beds into the tent so that when you look in there, you can actually see somebody's been sleeping in it. That's kind of cool. Maybe we could even put two side by side. But it may be neat to put like a chest up in the back of their tent. So here's a smaller chest. They have some larger ones. You just have to kind of take a look and grab a few things and size them up with the asset you've already started with. Let's push it up in here and see if we can make almost like a headboard. Now the other thing is I like to add lighting a lot, especially if you're going to be playing with your items at different times of day. All right, I'm going to push this up in the tent. And this is going to do two things. It's going to add light, but it's also going to add some interest. There we go. And then I'm going to spin it with our Alt key until I feel like I've got the best face forward there. And I'm going to place it. So what else do we have at a campground? Well, we're probably going to have a fire. And they actually have some pretty good campfires. They have this basic campfire, which I like. It's really nice. And then you can add stuff around it. You can add extra wood, or maybe a wood pile behind the tent where they've been chopping wood for the fire. That's kind of a cool idea. I'm going to go ahead and drop that down there. I may use that pile of wood. This campfire is cool, but I don't know what it is about this one with the pot. It just looks like, man, they're making dinner. You know, there's going to be some food on the fire tonight. It reminds me of Lord of the Rings a little bit. You got to remember your players are going to approach from different directions. Let's mess around with this wood. So we've got some wood next to the campground. I don't want to clip it through our tent too much if I can avoid it. Right about there looks good. And don't get too stressed if your stuff clips through the side, because oftentimes this is going to be butted up against another tile anyway whenever you add it to your board or your slab you're already working on. So if you have some stuff sticking through the side, no worries, no stress. So I imagine it's a really small camp, just a couple of people traveling. They're definitely going to be coming outside to chop wood, maybe even collect some food, maybe go hunting. So I'm going to go look through here at stumps. And there are some really cool stumps. This is more of like a basic tree stump. There's one with mushrooms in it that I think is so cool. I'm going to smash it down on the ground just a little. I could bring it down further so it's more of a small stump. And I'm going to do a large high stump. And then I'm going to do a smaller lower stump as well. So it looks like they maybe have been here a couple of days, or they've chopped down a few trees for firewood. The other thing is adding some props to your total asset here, your total scene. And they have some axes, right? They have a flat axe that lays on the ground, and they have more of a battle axe. I like this because it reminds me of a woodsman's axe, right? And it's vertical. We can't pivot things angularly, but we can rotate it, and then we can clip it into this log and raise it up a little bit. So maybe it looks like they just left their wood cutting axe behind. You see in a lot of my builds, if you've checked them out on Tales Tavern, I love having little weapons and axes laying around. Now, we could have two axes since there's two people and have another one laying on the ground. The other thing, too, is if you're holding your mouse over a tile, it pops up a little bit. So make sure you move your mouse away to see if you need to make any adjustments to the height of your item. Maybe fun to put something at the back of the tent. I like this shield because it's slightly leant back. You could lean it up against something. Maybe at the front of the tent, as you just come outside, you could kind of lean it up against here. See how this looks. Actually looks pretty good. It looks like it's leant up against the pole that the tent is held up with. Now, adding an extra stump may make sense, right? We put one on this side of the tent over here. Like maybe they've also been working at cutting out a place to stay, a clearing. We've got some skulls. This is like a pile of skulls, but you can push it down on the ground. And then you can hide some of these other skulls with bushes and things. I'm going to keep it for now just because I like it there. Now, they have some really nice like small furniture, like this stool here. I'm going to put it next to our fire here, kind of at the edge of our board. And the other thing we can do is no one's currently at the campsite, so we can use the stools and the seats here to put stuff on. We could put some food on it or drink. Another thing I try to do is make sure not everything is locked into a 90-degree angle. You can see I started with our tent and I made sure it was offset. And then our campfire twisted around, our chairs are offset, intersecting lines that aren't lined up on this grid. Now, these people may have some boxes of supplies, and this may fit here at the back of the camp really well. So I think right about there looks the most natural. And then this is a preset 3 boxes. What we can do is I can add an additional box to the stack here. I like this box that's been opened. That's kind of cool. I like this bag because it's just sort of nondescript, like what's in there? Who knows? So I can make the bag look like it's shorter and fatter by pressing it down into the box and making sure it's not clipping through the sides. Looks good. And so this is an example of customizing your assets, right? We have a box with the lid open. You could put anything in there, but I put that bag in there. You could put this thing in there. I don't know what this is. Big bowl of cereal. What I want to do is I want to fill that space with a little bit more nature stuff. Now, a lot of the stuff I already use is on my favorites bar. I absolutely love this tree for bushes, so I'll always clip it through the ground. And I just want to see what shapes I can create with this. It would kind of make sense if there were some bushes and leaves here from these trees that they've already cut down. But what I don't want is it to clip through the tent a whole lot. And then I'm rotating and changing the size so that I can get some different stuff here. They have this hedge here, this sort of like bushy, blocky hedge. But you can get some really nice changes in elevation by clipping it through the ground also. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to spin it around, clip it where it looks like there was maybe just a thick patch of grass next to our tent. By this stump here is a really good place to do it, like it's growing up around the skull even. And I'm turning on and off my build light with K. Small rocks. So this is a small rock. This is I call this big, medium, and small. So this is the big rock I use most of the time, medium rock, and small rock. So this rock's actually still pretty gigantic, but you smash it down into the ground, and boom, you've got like a nice stone without it being just preposterously large. So I like to put it places where I think rocks would be, maybe next to the campfire even. So just try to pick random places for them. It doesn't have to make a lot of sense. We have a dead tree, which I use quite a bit. I'm trying to see how it would look over here behind our tent, or actually kind of looks cool right there. I'm just going to snap it in there and take a look at it. I like that because it looks like maybe that's the next tree they're going to chop down. So I'm just going to spin it around a few times and see if I like any other angle of the tree better. Okay, so leaves are really fun because they can break up so much green with some oranges and yellows, and especially near like dead trees or trees that look like they've lost their leaves. So I'm just going to kind of mess around with them here for just a second and see if I can find a position I like them in. I wish we had some individual leaves. Okay. The other advice I would give you is don't get stressed too bad if it's not perfect. Like this leaf is kind of clipping through that log, and this leaf is kind of clipping through that stump. I think it's okay as long as it's just not ridiculous. So, and you can tell a lot by looking at it from the top again, looking at it from bird's eye view or top down. And just that little bit of color really helped. Oh, these are like little ferns, and they look really awesome clipped into the ground at varying heights. I feel bad, but it's like you kind of just put it anywhere. I mean, right in the middle of the fire is probably not a good idea, but try to rotate it, push it down, try it in some different areas. Maybe right here at the entrance of our tent. What I do think we need is mushrooms. Now, this patch of mushrooms I use a lot for bigger terrain areas, but there's a whole mushroom section, and they have individual mushrooms. They've got a red mushroom. I like these yellow mushrooms, something about them. Got a Mario mushroom, big flat boy, blue mushroom. All right, so for instance, this yellow mushroom here. It's a single mushroom, and we can move it around a lot. do some different stuff with it. All right, I'm going to duplicate it and see if it fits anywhere else. I mean, here's another bush in the back we could try to see how it looks. A little bit too odd there. Maybe one mushroom's all we need. I'm going to call this done. We took a 4x4 tile, the essence of starting small, and we created a really fun, interesting scene with a lot going on. It took us quite a while to build the total, this entire camp. But now if you needed a camp quickly in the future, you have one. So what I would suggest doing is if you need a set piece or an asset like this, build it on its own first. One, it's great practice. And two, you can then copy it and make multiples of it. And the selection tool I'm using is up here. It's the little dotted box up here. So I just select that, click on the ground, drag out, roughly the size of what we've built. And then there are these little squares on each side, and you can raise and lower them. See, we went way too far, so we can bring it in a little bit. Our tree's sticking out the top, so we can go up a little bit. All right, the other thing is we're right flat on the ground, and we do know that some of our assets go into the ground, so I'm going to push down on the bottom selection a little bit deeper. And then I'm just going to click Cut Slab, because I want to make sure I don't leave anything behind. So now that I have our slab in my hand, we bring it over here and we go, okay, we made our camp. We push it back down, about where we had it before. And let's make some different versions of it. There we go. And some of the changes I would like to see are no mushrooms, no skulls, no extra axe, right? So we're going to basically remove things first to see how it changes our scene. A little bit cleaner, not as busy. I'm going to remove the dead tree in the background. I'm going to remove this bag from the boxes and put something else in there. And I'm going to remove one of the sleeping bags. Let's just make one person sleeping here right now. I like the shield, but let's just move it and see where else it could go. Maybe right here next to the stump instead. Okay, and there's only one person here, so let's take one of the seats away. We'll move this chair to the other side. All right, last hint. Let's remove the shield. Let's remove the skull and the bag and the extra axe. We're going to take the axe out of the tree. We're going to take down the big stump. We're going to take the leaves away. And let's swap the seats around. Let's put this seat on that side. This seat on this side. The other thing you can do is just slightly rotate your campfire. Change it up a little bit. And do the same thing here. All right, I want these boxes to peek out a little bit more. And let's make them more unique by going into our decorations and going into food and drink. And just seeing what all we can do here. So what does every campfire need? We need some soup, right? Somebody's eating some soup somewhere. I don't know what it is. It's definitely got like mushrooms and meat. This is like a jug of wine or something, like a jug of alcohol. Let's put that in this box instead of our sack. We've got a beer stein filled with some ale. Somebody was drinking that, hanging out by the tent, so we're going to drop it here in the grass just a little bit by the entrance. Like maybe they're thinking about getting something to eat. We'll just set it on the ground next to the fire. And here we have a basket filled with like a pie and a bread roll. We got some bread. Maybe I'll put some bread on there next to their bed, like they were going to have a snack before they went to sleep. We got a basket of blueberries. Maybe they're out here by themselves harvesting blueberries. There's a potion of something. Push that up in there. Maybe this person's having a drink of wine while they're out here. So I'm going to put the bottle next to the fire. And then I'm going to set a glass of wine on their stool. Chill out in the woods, man, and have a little sip of wine. Here's this other camp. I really like this camp. It looks like a warrior's camp to me. There's axes, so I'm going to add a couple of things of beer or meat at this campsite. I think this will look cool. Beer's going to get warm sitting by the fire like that. This definitely looks like a traveling band of dwarves. And what do dwarves like more than sweet rolls, right? I think these are sweet rolls. Look, maybe it's romantic. They're going to lay in bed together and eat these delicious desserts. You could continue adding stuff till you felt like it was complete. I don't want to overdo it, but I definitely want it to feel full and cluttered in the right way. It should feel cluttered in a fun, real way, you know. But in just a short while, we've made 3 very different but also similar custom assets. So I kind of wanted to show you what it's like to grab one of these and put it onto a board. So let's say you're like needing a camp. You're like, oh yeah, I made some camp. So I'm going to go grab that real quick. I'm going to copy it. And we are going to match up our elevation here so that the camp is a little bit higher. And there we go. What you could do at this point is take more tiles and add the varying elevation to make this camp become part of your existing board. So now it's a road that weaves through the wilderness, but also there's a camp nearby. A lot of times you don't need a set piece. What you need are some modular pieces that can snap together and be pushed into existing terrain. So for instance, ruins or derelict abandoned structures. Castle ruins are really fun, and a lot of them are already modular pieces, as you can see. You know, this is a great piece that you can just press into your board and create something fun. You may want something a little more detailed and a little more that's not just right out of the box, right? You want it to have your own style and your own flavor, your way. So to do that, we're going to do a similar thing to what we did here, where we built platform and we created our camps on top of that. We're actually just going to create things by themselves as new items. And if you've played any tabletop wargaming or RPG, it's always awesome to have cover that you can quickly access and use for your players or your enemies to hide behind. So I'm going to try to make a little covered barricade thing. My goal here is to create something that, 1, could be used effectively in combat, and 2, looks cool for the players, even if there's not going to be a combat encounter. So see, I'm not really building on terrain because I know I'm going to pick this up and move it and put it on some terrain somewhere else. So sometimes it's fine to just build right on the game board itself. And then the same thing is, instead of just building ruins, I'm going to go ahead and decorate the ruins a little bit with some foliage and nature stuff, because it's just going to save me time whenever I start moving into other areas. All right, so that looks pretty good. I'm going to add some moss. I would love for there to be like moss creeping up out of that hole in that stone. Is there a way we can kind of do that? Yeah, there we go. Boom. So it's just about rotating it until you can get what you want, right? I want some moss kind of creeping out between these 2 rocks. So spin it around with your quick keys or spin it around with your Alt key. Now, this would be a fun place for these kind of gnarly roots. I'm just going to throw one of those down and see how it looks. I actually really like that. Yeah, it's not perfect, but actually looks pretty neat. And what you want to do is do this in your style, right? If there's assets you like that are different than the ones I'm picking out, use those, man. Like, you can do anything. Some wooden stairs here is kind of cool. Like, maybe there was some fortifications here at one point, but since been gone. I'm trying to see where I can place it that makes most sense and is fun. Doesn't really line up, but it looks like ruined wood, which I'm cool with. Same with this piece here. I think this is in miscellaneous furniture or decor. Looks cool. All right, we've got this little mud tile here, which I use quite a bit. Just want to add it. It's going to add some like dirt texture. Spin it around, put it a few places. And then these sort of random field stones. There we go. All right, so this could be outfitted again with more stuff, right? We can make copies. We could put lighting on it. We could set a lantern up here. We could do all of that stuff. But what I want to do right now is I want to copy it, and I want to see how it looks on a board. Make sure I've gotten everything selected here. I'm bad about forgetting stuff. That's why I always use the cut slab button to make sure I didn't leave anything behind. So as you can see, picking it up, it's like a whole nother thing. But if we take it over here, even to this small board, not only did we make ruins, we made foliage and interesting stuff around it. So I'm going to place it right here on the corner. And yes, all of this is still showing, but what we can do, and again, remember, not building flat, we want to add some elevation. And because we built on a flat plane, we can easily match up the heights in which they're supposed to be at. Now this isn't perfect still. I want to add some 1x1 tiles here. And here. Here. Maybe over here. Maybe over here. And then once I'm here, I go, you know what? Now that it's on the board, what if I had another set of stairs there? We could take this and use it again somewhere else. In the same way that we created this here, across your map, you need another location. You need another sort of ruined corner that your enemies can use as cover. You can go and snap that onto another part of your map. And if you go, oh, you know what? I actually don't need this piece because the rocks hang out too far, or, oh, I forgot I've got to add some more terrain over here. It makes it really fun and quick. And now we've got a place for an archer to hide and shoot down at the camp. And you notice, even though these are the exact same assets, minor changes. If we removed this bush, this really like hard identifying characteristic, maybe some of the side stuff here, maybe this bush, no one would notice. You could even flip your terrain around a little bit, and there's no way that they would piece these two things together and go, oh, you just copied your assets, because it's about the idea of what you're putting out there. It's not that you copied and pasted something. It's about you made a tool that worked well for what you needed it for, and you kept it in your tool bag, right? This is creating something original and then keeping it in your bag of tools for when you're ready to use it. And that's really it, guys. That's how you do it. That's how you make your own custom stuff that you can reuse when you need it. And you can create and share and select and move and readjust in order to build more effectively. We didn't use any special mods. We used all of the stuff right out of the box from the basic TaleSpire assets. And we made some really cool, awesome stuff. I'm kind of excited. This is the first time I've built all this, and I'm like, oh, cool, this would actually go really well in the board I'm working on right now. And I know we haven't gotten into any big builds like with architecture or giant structures, but this is the basics and the fundamentals that we need to build on top of. Because if you can build this stuff really well and fun and interesting, when we get into the big builds like building a castle or building a giant wall or a tavern or something crazy, you're going to already be prepared and know how to really rock with this stuff. And that about does it for this video, guys. It's been really fun learning together. If this is your first time here, welcome to Nordic Forge Games. I'd love to have you as a subscriber if you're interested in this sort of content, seeing more stuff like this. And also, feel free to check out all of my official Nordic Forge Games assets. They're actually on Tales Tavern, available for you guys to copy and paste into your own games. And my hope is actually to spend some more time on stuff like this that we create in the videos, and then share that on Tales Tavern for you guys to check out and use as well. So I would love to hear from you guys. Leave a comment, leave a like, share this video. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you have any questions. Keep being awesome, keep building awesome stuff, and until we meet again.